It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast. What's up, guys? Kendall here. You are getting a solo episode today, and for those not watching on YouTube, we are getting comfy and cozy over here, okay? I am quite literally sitting in my bed for this podcast, and I am absolutely loving it, if I'm being honest with you. This might be my new favorite setup, just me in bed pretending to be a podcaster. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a little nervous today. And I don't think I'm nervous for the reason you're expecting, because of course, like, having Julia here and having someone to riff off of is always going to be easier in a podcast setting. But the thing is, I'm not nervous that I won't have enough to talk about. I'm nervous that I won't know when to shut up, because your girl is a yapper, as we know. So I'm going to try to keep the thoughts slightly condensed today. If not, I fear you might have to hear me ramble for the next hour and a half. And if you watch all of it, thank you so much. Love you. I have a few topics I want to talk about today. Nothing super serious. I did also have you guys submit some questions or little advice things here and there. I gave a heads up I was going to be filming alone. That way, in case you had a Kendall specific question, I could take the time to answer it. Also, I know Julia's episode is coming out before mine, so I'm sure you already saw. In this very moment of filming my episode, she is currently 2.5 days out from stepping on stage, and I am so excited for her, so proud of her. I have been watching how much work she's putting in this year, and I obviously am so proud just being on the sidelines as her friend, as her support system. She is just so strong, and she has given this prep her absolute all, on top of saying yes to a million bazillion other obligations, and it's just very impressive, and I am so excited to see her step on stage as a pro. I know this is not technically her pro debut, but her pro debut back in 2022 was in Puerto Rico. I was not able to attend, so I'm so excited that this one is local, and I will be going to her show on Saturday, and I cannot wait. So yeah, that's why we're filming apart, is because when you're in the thick of a peak week, trying to schedule anything at all, literally anything, impossible. I tried telling her I could have filmed 2 episodes if she didn't want to film at all, but I do know she wanted to do her own individual podcast talking about the show. Keeping the what the fuck is up at the gym segment alive, we're gonna start there before hopping into your guys' questions. My current what the fuck is up at the gym might come as a surprise. It's a surprise to myself. And as I share this, I want you to take it with the teeniest grain of salt in the entire world, okay? The last thing I want to happen is me putting this out into the universe and then people commenting in 6 months, what happened? You said you were gonna do this. Let's not do that, okay? I'm just speaking freely. This is a safe space, and I want to fill you guys in how I'm feeling. I, this week, got this little, again, teeny tiny, and let's remember that, it might grow into nothing, so I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, not even my own. But I got the tiniest of little itches to step on stage again. There, I said it. It's one of those things where if you have asked me at any point in the last 2 years since I did step on stage, 3 years actually, it was 2021 the last time I stepped on a stage. Pretty crazy. I would tell you that I have no desire literally at all ever again. But for some reason, I don't know if it's seeing Julia in peak week. I don't know if it's seeing our mutual friend Maddie Forberg turn pro. I really don't know what did it for me. But I have a small itch, and I will be exploring that itch. I will not be talking about it any further, and I probably won't for several months. But just know, it is slightly there more than it was before. And it's just one of those things where the last advice podcast we did, we got a question about a woman who had pulled out of her prep and was feeling really defeated about it and not feeling like she was a quote-unquote bodybuilder anymore. And I feel like this is just a testament where I have not competed or had any will or want to compete in the last several years. And yet I still show up to the gym every single day, except my rest days. Those are important. And I still put a lot of effort into what I fuel my body with. And that has allowed me now 3 years later, where if I wanted to compete in the next year, I could, because I've kind of done my best without going overboard at just maintaining a certain look, a certain physique, a certain wellness shape. I do fear that I've lost a lot of muscle mass, but I took some progress photos. I know, that's how you know it's kind of serious. I haven't thrown on a bikini and hit wellness poses again in 3 years. I just wanted to see where I was at. I honestly don't think I lost as much muscle mass as I was expecting to see. So yeah, that's all I got. I don't even know if I'm gonna tell Julia yet. Maybe next episode I'll maybe possibly mention it to her, but again, I don't want this to be this big thing because I fear if I put pressure on it, I'm gonna change my mind. For right now, I think it might be fun to just get really lean and see how I'm feeling and see how I'm looking. We're also nearing the end of competition season. The Olympia, I believe, is next month in October. And after that, there's not really a lot of shows going on, especially not locally, until like early summer next year. So it's all up in the air. I'll let you guys know, or honestly, I might not. Now we're gonna get into some of your guys' questions. We're gonna start with some easy, shorter questions and then move into maybe the more emotionally complex ones, if you will. The first question says, I'm bored at my current gym and wanting to venture to a new one. How do I get rid of or get over my gym anxiety? You are talking to the right girl. We all know I get bored of gyms really easily. I like to switch gyms every few months. Austin sadly does not have a ton of options, so now I'm like re-rotating to the old gyms I used to go to when I get bored, but that's okay. It's still new-ish. There's a few things you can do. Number one, book a tour or like just walk in and ask for a tour. I feel like having an employee actually take you around, show you where everything is, really eliminates a lot of that like initial nervousness of like maybe not knowing where every piece of equipment is or like seeing the layout or not knowing where to start. If you have someone like talking you through it, it makes it a lot less scary. And then one of my biggest tips, we actually haven't talked about this in a little while now. I like to start every workout on a piece of cardio equipment. And not for the fact that I'm trying to get my heart rate up or do cardio. I usually actually do my cardio post-workout. But I like to hop on a treadmill for a few minutes. That gives me just like that little extra bit of alone time where I'm in the gym, but I'm not starting my workout yet. I get to kind of scout out the area, see how busy it is, see if a lot of people are on the equipment I'm going to be using. It just really helps me like get into the gym mindset without just going like beelining for the first piece of equipment I need. And then if you are a social girl, bring a friend. Like there's no harm in having a friend or making a friend at the new gym that you can work out with your first few times there to just kind of break the ice and get you comfortable. The next question I have is, what would you say to someone who's considering doing their first prep? I would say go watch the Bodybuilding Basics series. We already have a series here on the podcast page diving into all parts of competing and really breaking it down. And the first episode in that, I cannot remember the title, but we'll try to link it down below. The first episode was really just going into the mindset you need to have before competing. So I'm still going to answer and I'll give you a brief answer, but if you want like a really in-depth answer to this, I would go watch those episodes. In short, I would say check in with yourself. Have like a very, very honest heart-to-heart conversation with yourself, whether that's just sitting, meditating on it, or actually writing it down and journaling about how you're feeling. Bodybuilding is very much so a mental sport. Of course it's physical, but usually our bodies can push to physical limits more easily than pushing to mental limits. Right before my first ever prep, I went up to a random girl at my gym that I knew competed in bikini, and I said, exactly what you're asking me. I said, what advice would you have if I'm considering a prep? And she said, make sure you have a good relationship with yourself and with food. And I listened to her, and I'm so glad I did, because I took an extra month or two to really work on loving myself and having a healthy, happy relationship with food. And I think that made a huge difference when it came down to prepping, because I went in with such a positive, healthy mindset and relationship. If you're already in a dark place, if you're already battling certain food habits, it is not time to compete yet. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're never going to compete. I would just recommend focusing and healing that side of things before potentially making it worse by doing a prep. Other little pieces of advice is just to hire a coach if you can afford it, or do a lot of research online so that you can have a safe and healthy prep, of course. And yeah, there's a ton of free resources now. Bodybuilding.com has a lot of articles about a lot of bodybuilding topics. We, like I said on this channel, have done multiple topics. There are dozens of great YouTubers out there that you can go watch their prep vlogs and just get a feel for it and see if it's something you truly want to do. And if you do, I say go for it. I think if you have an inclination or a calling to compete, you should. At least once in your lifetime. I feel like it is very worth doing. The next question I got is, how do I start a run or walk club in my area? I love the idea of a lazy girl run club, and there are no clubs in my area without driving an hour. I would say just start it. That is exactly what I'm doing. For those who didn't listen to last week's podcast, I started in Austin, Texas walk club. By the time you're seeing this, the first walk has been planned, which is exciting. I'm going to continue linking the Discord on my Instagram and in the description of the YouTube for right now. For those of you who are local to Austin, Texas, if you want to join us on our walk club, it's going to be really fun, and I'm really excited for the first walk. I basically wanted to create the sense of a run club, the community of a run club, without the running, because I still want to make friends. I want my friends to make friends. I want to create this like girl boss community and get outside and get our steps in and make it like a fun activity for all of us to do. And so in the midst of starting it, again, I feel like I got a great answer for this. You just kind of have to do it. It is so beyond out of my comfort zone to start a club or a community of any sorts. Again, as we know, I'm naturally very shy, very introverted. So it's by no means like an easy thing to start, but honestly, you can't start anything without just doing it. Think of a name, think of a location, think of like one or two friends that you know would come to the first meetup or two to at least get that ball rolling. And then once you have a location or like a weekly meetup time, I feel like it is easy to just continuously grow, because the people that do attend will start bringing their friends or their family, and then it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So even if you start small, even if you start with like one or two friends or a mom or a sister just to get the ball rolling, I promise it will grow. It is inevitable. I feel like we are in the time of life where we are craving human interaction. We're post-pandemic. Life is normal again. Everyone wants to make more friends, even us introverted girls. So start just like putting it out there. Put it out there to people that you know in your area. Post it on social media if you feel safe doing so. If you watch my mom and I's episode, we talked a little bit. She is like a huge fan of meetup groups and single groups on Facebook. Facebook is such a good tool because there are Facebook groups for like every town ever in the whole world. So go onto Facebook, check out different groups in your area. If they already have a meetup group or a women's only group, that's a great place to just post like, hey, I want to start a run club or a walk club. Is anyone interested? And that way you're already getting those like free connections without having to advertise. Next question is how to gain sponsorships like Buff Chicks or an athletic clothing brand when you're still small on social media. This is a great question and something I wish I had some guidance on when I was first getting started. So I'm going to do my best to answer it, though everyone's journey with sponsorships and working with brands is entirely personal and different. My biggest piece of advice is do not be afraid to reach out to the brand first. That is something I still struggle with to this day. I forgot that this camera turns off every 30 minutes or so. I don't know exactly where it cut off, but I believe I was talking about creating a sales pitch for yourself. Make a list of all the companies you already enjoy buying from, you love the products from them, or you really like what the company stands for. Make a list of these companies, and that is going to be your top priority, because you don't want to just send out a mass message to everyone and like hope anyone will take and sponsor you. You really want to work with brands you already believe in or like the products of, or else it won't feel genuine. Once you have a list of a few brands that you would really like to work with, I suggest writing up a little sales pitch of yourself, because at the end of the day, all social media sponsorships are just marketing. You have to be able to market yourself and convince this brand that you will get them sales and create revenue for them. This message doesn't have to be super long. I do a lot of Googling, honestly, or I check on TikTok, because a lot of influencers do share free information of just like how to message brands or how to get their emails, etc. So just doing a little external research, but just creating like a simple sales pitch of saying like, Hi, I'm Kendall. I live in Austin. This is my demographic. I do lifestyle and fitness content. I really love your company and was wondering if there's any way we can collaborate or work together. Like just something really simple like that. And the worst thing they're going to respond with, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're not looking to do any collaborations right now." And then you say, "Okay, thank you so much for responding. Please let me know if that changes in the future." And then there you go. The best thing that can happen is they say, "Yeah, we would love to collaborate. Email us here." And then you can kind of get that ball rolling and figure out logistics and what you want from the company, what they want from you. But just don't be afraid to reach out. That's something I wish I did more of even now, is sometimes I get a little embarrassed or like too much pride where I'm like, I can't reach out to them. They don't want to work with me. And it's like, maybe they do, and they just haven't gotten the chance to message you. So take that initiative and message them yourself. The next question is a little bit of a longer one and also a little bit of a deeper one. Not a huge trigger warning, but they do mention binge eating. So we're going to be talking about that just a little bit. If that makes you uncomfortable or it's triggering to you, just skip ahead to the next question. They said, "Please talk more about discipline. How to catch the thoughts when you notice you're negotiating with yourself. What are some signs of negotiation and what do you do to overcome those thoughts? Sometimes I feel like with food, I am depriving myself of foods. I am building a healthier relationship with food when I have gone through cycles of restriction and binging. So for me, sometimes my mind says, don't deprive yourself so you don't binge again. Where is the balance and do you plan in advance for cheat meals?" This is challenging to answer because everyone's relationship with food is different. And everyone's journey to healing their relationship is going to be different. So I'm going to fully speak for myself. This might work for you, and I hope it does. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry. And sometimes trial and error is the answer. You started this conversation with saying discipline, right? And do I think discipline is insanely important? Absolutely. That is what is going to create lifelong healthy habits with everything. That's what discipline is. It's just having habits so ingrained in your being that you don't even pay attention to it anymore because it's just a part of you. So creating discipline is the end goal. But in order to get to that point, in my opinion, and what worked for me, you gotta be nice to yourself. If you are so focused on discipline and you're being mean to yourself and you're experiencing guilt and you're experiencing shame and you feel like you're not doing enough or trying enough or you're falling back into these cycles over and over again, that's just a sign. And for myself, again, I'm not speaking for you or for anyone else. To me, that was a red flag that I was almost self-sabotaging myself. I was using discipline as a form of punishment, or a form of, I'm not doing good enough, so I'm gonna give up now. Or I'm not doing good enough, so I'm gonna restrict even more now. For me, seeing those patterns and catching those thoughts, which if you're writing this in, odds are you're already seeing some of these thoughts and patterns come up for yourself. It is so important in these times that you are gentle to yourself and you are nice to yourself. And it is okay if a day is not 100%. It is okay if you don't restrict yourself. It is okay if you do restrict yourself. Anything you do is okay because you are healing and that's what's important. It doesn't matter what you see online. It doesn't matter that you see X, Y, and Z influencers having amazing discipline. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. Do not compare yourself to your old self. Just focus on your future self and your current self and realize you're just doing your best. Now, when it comes to actual negotiations with yourself, I think it depends what you're asking about. So if you're saying, I'm realizing I'm restricting too much, I'm making negotiations of like, I shouldn't be restricting because then I'll binge, so I'm just gonna eat freely. That is okay. If that is what your body and your mind want, that is an okay state to be in. Every single day, every single week, every single month, that you are in this balance zone in between restriction and binge, it gets easier. It gets so much easier. And then one day you're gonna wake up, and I promise you this, you're gonna forget that you were even thinking about these things, that you were even making negotiations. It's just gonna be discipline. It's just gonna be engraved in yourself. So as much as paying attention to these negotiations is important in the sense that you should be in tune with yourself, I also wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect on either end of the spectrum. And then the second part of your question was, do you plan in advance for a cheat meal? Personally, yes. I don't plan what I'm having, but I do give myself every single Saturday, I have a cheat meal. Sometimes it's just like one roll of sushi. Sometimes it's an entire pizza. Just depends how I'm feeling that day. I do feel like that did help me with my journey of having a healthy relationship and finding balance, because even when I eat super clean throughout the week, I know, okay, I have my cheat meal on Saturday. So it makes it a lot easier to eat the healthy foods Monday through Friday, and then other than my cheat meal on Saturday. This one's a little bit longer. It says, hey you, regarding your solo episode, you've recently uploaded a reel about your height and weight, and I know Julia has talked about being quote unquote heavier for your heights due to muscle. You also talked about weight gain in your episode with your mom. She's from Germany, so she said mom, and I love that. With my mom. I would love to hear more about that. Also, coming from the medical space with BMI and that sort of things, how are you navigating that? I know a lot of people, including me, struggle with the number on the scale, even though body fat wise, I'm much leaner than the quote unquote normal weight. If that is too personal or too big of a struggle, you don't have to answer. Just something I thought would be very useful. Lots of love from Germany. Lots of love from the US. Also, if any of you are from out of country, please comment down below, because I think that is so fascinating. I think basically you're asking about like the mental side of dealing with having maybe a higher weight or seeing the number on the scale or seeing a BMI number. If I'm being completely honest, stopped giving a crap so many years ago. I started working out really young, as most of us know by now, and so I feel like my weight has always been quote unquote higher than like all of my girlfriends, and definitely when I was like a freshman in high school, it was really bothersome and I would cry over the scale. So I'm not saying I've never struggled with this. I absolutely have. But I think I view the number on the scale and like numbers in general so objectively now, where like it doesn't feel important. Because it's not. BMI, for reference, is the stupidest thing in the entire world. If we could please move away from that, that would be great. Basically, it is giving you a percentile of your height versus weight on if you are obese, average, or healthy. Girl, if I went off of BMI, I would be morbidly obese, and I'm not saying that sarcastically, I'm not saying that lightheartedly, I'm saying that in the sense that BMI does not account for muscle mass literally at all, so I find it so irrelevant as a fitness girly, and you should too. I literally haven't looked at a BMI chart since I was in like middle school. Weight, on the other hand, I totally understand the hardship of stepping on scales or measuring something and just maybe being unhappy with the number or not understanding why the scale isn't moving or why it's gone up or X, Y, and Z. And what I think works the best for me to give no peace of mind to the scale is going off of other factors besides my weight. I'm gonna give you a little example here. My last shows I competed in were in 2021. The first show of the year was my first wellness show ever. I did not get a DECA scan done, so I don't know my actual body fat percentage, but I do know it was one of the leanest packages I have ever brought to a stage. And I weighed 158 pounds during peak week. That is important, so let's remember it. I was under 160 peak week at my show. I won, I qualified for nationals. I honestly don't remember now, but like 6 weeks or so out from nationals. So I had to continue prepping for another 6 weeks. I stepped on the national stage, leaner, much leaner. You could tell by the way I looked. My measurements were all smaller. I weighed 162. And if that doesn't prove that the scale is just so far beyond irrelevant, I don't know what else would. My point is, try to find other factors you can measure. I love doing actual body measurements, like measuring my waist, measuring my quads, measuring my glutes. That way I can track progress in that sense. Also, if you want like a super comprehensive panel, go get a DECA scan done. That will give you a full body analysis, body fat, lean mass, body weight, all of the things. But at the end of the day, just find other things to focus on and other goals to create. I think being obsessive over the scale is a canon event that we all go through at some point, but just a reminder that it is truly not important. And if you are happy with your physique and if you are healthy and if you are able to move your body, then the number that the scale tells you really should not matter. And I know that's easier said than done, but the less you pay attention to it, the easier that becomes. That is all I have for today. I thought I was going to end up talking about some of my own topics a little more, but I feel like you guys had some amazing questions, and sadly I didn't get to all of them, so I'm definitely saving the rest that were sent in for a future episode with Julia and I. I always butcher the outro, So we're just going to try our best here. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you all so much. And remember, you are more powerful than you think. Bye.